G7, all you need to know about the G7 summit and the G7 countries. The G7 summit is often marred with protests in the streets of the host city, but this year with Donald Trump's America First agenda, which will hit U.S. allies with trade tariffs and threaten multilateral free trade deals, the U.S. president will be the one expected to receive a hostile reception. Due to this, many have suggested that the G7 summit should be renamed the G6+1 after speculation revealed that Trump may be distracted by the preparations for the June 12 meeting with North Korea leader Kim Jong-un in Singapore. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and German Chancellor Angela Merkel have admitted that they will find it difficult to communicate with the U.S. president, but there will not be any compromises made after tariffs on steel and aluminium have resulted in G7 members being on the brink of an all-out trade war. Trudeau told reporters, "We know certainly that there will be frank and sometimes difficult discussions around the G7 table, particularly with the U.S. president on tariffs." Merkel, on the other hand, said that there would be no compromise for its own sake. However, Canada's Trade Minister François-Philippe Champagne took a more direct approach and said, "What we are seeing is that the world economic order is under pressure, under attack," while White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow said that Trump is sticking to his guns. 2018's G7 summit will take place during a time in which the UK Prime Minister Theresa May is preoccupied by Brexit negotiations and days after Italian Premier Giuseppe Conte formally took power. In addition to this, despite many attempts, French President Emmanuel Macron has failed to sway Trump on any issue. However, Japan's Shinzo Abe does have a close relationship with the White House, but the Asian country's support for North Korean outreach has not spared the tariffs. Melania Trump will also not be accompanying her husband to the G7 summit in Canada or to the historic meeting in Singapore days later, according to her communications director Stephanie Grisham, and it has not been revealed when her next public event will be. The Group of Seven, more commonly known as the G7, is made up of 7 of the world's most richest economies. The G7 countries include Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom and the United States, making up 62% of the world's net wealth, $280 trillion or £208 trillion, and 32% of the global purchasing parity GDP. The concept of the G7 was formed before the 1973 oil crisis, and 2 years later, France brought together representatives from the 7 countries and these informal meetings started to be held. The European Union has also been a non-enumerated member of the G7 since 1977, but they do not hold a chair or host any summits. Every year, leaders of all G7 countries meet to discuss important issues that are affecting the world, and policy agreements that are made at the G7 summit ultimately have a trickle-down effect on countries around the world. The location of the G7 summit changes between the nations that are represented by their member and the leader of the hosting nation hold the G7 presidency for that year. It is their responsibility to host and organize the annual event and set the agenda. In 2018, the G7 summit will be held on June 8 to 9, 2018 in Charlevoix, Quebec, Canada, with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as the G7 president this year. For this year's G7 summit, Justin Trudeau has set up ministerial meetings on 5 topics. 1. Advancing gender equality and women's empowerment. 2. Investing in growth that works for everyone. 3. Preparing for jobs of the future. 4. Working together on climate change, oceans, and clean energy. 5. Building a more peaceful and secure world. The first of these goals is even more so poignant after Trudeau referred to himself as a feminist leader, and the subject of gender parity is expected to be a dominant theme across all 5 discussion topics. Alongside this, with perceptions of the U.S. have fallen after 15 women came forward accusing Trump of sexual harassment. In addition to what was heard on the Access Hollywood tape, Trudeau has set up a Gender Equality Advisory Council. Dale Haddon, one of the 19 who make up what is being dubbed the Council, mentioned that private sector accountability and more investment in technology will also be main talking points on both days, according to Notable Life. If you're not being represented, complete decisions can't be made. In matters such as creating future jobs, we need help designing what that landscape looks like when gender parity is incorporated. If the majority of people working on future-shaping technologies like high or male, what they are creating will have a male worldview, which only enforces the problem. We need growth that works for everyone, and to do that we need to increase girls' education levels in the technology and IT industries so they have access to these new jobs of the future, she said. The aim of the Gender Equality Advisory Council is to call on private sector companies to step up and eradicate this problem, and the council will look to organizations to publicly commit to achieving a gender-neutral board, with equal pay and equal leadership by 2020. The leadership qualities that Prime Minister Trudeau is manifesting are extremely impressive. It's like Canada is standing up, Haddon said.